These guys get a break. They don't really appreciate that we're still working now, writing scripts and developing scripts. But he was very clever in this thing of the 12 and the 12, because it's like to do 24 is a very hard thing. And what's really interesting is there was an announcement, like a little cute,
it was coming. I knew it was.
A little budgie. What's just been announced for network television in America is like a lot of, like Grey's Anatomy they've now announced they're doing 12 episode stories, and then they're going to do another 12 episode stories, because it's just too unruly. What happens, and I think we talk about it, is there's the rules of 7. There's 7 great episodes, there's 7 mediocre episodes, and then there's 7 sort of bad episodes. That's what happens, because you just can't sustain it. And we're taking a break to do more writing, so we just approach it in the sense of, this is a movie, this is our bad guy, this is the 3-act structure, the first 3 will be this, the next 4 will be this, and then the last, however many that is, 5, whatever, 3 I can't speak maths, but then it builds in that way. So it's all, that's how we do it. Yeah.
Has the bigger budget enabled you to be more audacious with things like your makeup? And
bigger
stuff?
budget?
Bigger budget!
We didn't get a bigger budget, let's put it like that. We actually lost
We're
money.
just doing more of the same money.
I don't know how you made it look so good. Like,
Well,
they paid you
cameras.
Yeah,
Alexis red cameras.
Not that our crew in Atlanta was, was not wonderful or anything, but our crew in LA is incredible.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a completely other level, and I think that probably helps a lot. The fact that we can get more done, we can get more takes, things go faster, and
The access to cameras too. The Alexis we've had this year has been incredible. The Alexis, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had the red, I believe, in the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So you're gonna notice, I think, even a look.
Yeah.
having a sound, having a stages just means it's just the shots that we can get. I mean, I just saw Russell McCulkey's last episode, and it's very Kubrick in that kind of just incredible expanse.
It is, yeah. He directed the pilot, and he's the head director.
So do you feel like you're really spoiled because you're working in America on these massive...
A little bit. It does. I mean, it's working in LA is a wonderful experience.
Is the food better?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We're all gluten sugar free.
I know.
Gluten free. Yeah,
They're not allowed to go to craft service, the boys. The girls just don't go to craft service. The boys are actually
Craft service.
Craft service.
Oh, craft service.
That was not the good one.
No, but it does. I mean, it does feel like a proper outfit now. I don't know. Before it was, it was charming in its way, but it's a big studio thing.
Machine now.
It's
we had this old
stepped it up.
factory which was doing speakers and electronics. So we now have the warehouse, and it's big. We're trying to become, obviously, because it's much easier, more of a set show. So we actually are talking about building a forest this season, so that we don't have to go out.
Go outside.
To go out.
Growing one.
This is going to be good for night shoot.
Yeah, exactly. And because the problem is, I don't think people realize structurally, you start shooting at 7 a.m. on Monday, and you shoot till 8 on Monday, and then you go into split nights because you have to do night stuff. So Wednesday you're half day, half night, and by the time you get to Friday, you're shooting till 6 in the morning on Saturday morning. So it's just, we call it Fridays, exactly. So it's really hard on everybody.
Does that not help with the acting though? Because obviously they're also going to be kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I don't know, sometimes.
Also, because we have such a supportive crew, we oftentimes have multiple units going, which can be crazy for actors because we're going from one thing to the other.
Yeah.
But I think that helps the show run more efficiently because we can get so much done and we can take our time. And we have 3 directors and that, just are all in it to make a wonderful show. So.
It feels like a city this year. It really did.
Yeah, there's so much, like, at any moment you have no idea.
Yeah, but I mean, with all the specialty shots we have and the budget we have and the time we have, that it has to work that way.
Yeah.
Else it would not get done.
Yeah, and on that, I would like to say thank you so much to the crew, because they work so hard. We work hard.
It's
but
true.
are there every day, and they work nights and splits, and they have to be there an hour before and an hour after.
We're
and they
low
just-
budget shows. We
I don't know
appreciate
how
it.
they do it,
Yeah.
like how they have a life, but we just swan in and sit in some water for a bit and complain about it, and they are there all day, and they do such a fantastic job.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah.
They are the reason that it looks so great this season.
Christian, can I ask you, in terms of genre and fantasy genre, where you think we're up to in terms of the appetite for it? Do you feel that we're at the beginning, or we're somewhere in the middle?
I think it's interesting because I think what Jeff's done with this show is quite clever, because it's sort of a little bit postmodern in the sense that it's very funny, but also doesn't take itself too seriously. But then it allows, in the sense of the show, to be quite emotional and quite scary and action-packed. I think for young people, this type of stuff is very good to access, to talk about important subjects without actually talking about them, talking about it in a framework. So I don't think it'll ever go away. I think the Twilight stuff, not to brag on one of the most successful things in the world, but I think that you're gonna have to do it differently. I don't think there won't be another. I think we've seen, like with other things that are trying to mimic it, they can't really do that, but I think this show is succeeding because it's sort of like the little engine that could, and then people come to it. We've been on like 3 or 4 major top 10 lists of like the show, the guilty pleasure thing, because it's sort of like I think people come to see it and they think, oh, it's a lot more sophisticated than I thought it was gonna be, and I think that's the road.
So it's going through a sort of growing up phase.
Yeah, and I think that's what's going to happen with all of this genre stuff. Yeah. But I think there will always be genre, because genre's really fun, and it's a great place to talk about things.
Archetypes.
It's archetypes.
I think it's interesting that question is quite an interesting one. How much of an appetite? But I think, I do think it stretches certain boundaries of what is a genre show, and I think that's what makes it quite interesting. I think, as you said, if you look at it as a genre show and you watch it, then I think suddenly you kind of go, oh, this doesn't quite fit into any of that, and that gives it slightly more legs than anything that takes itself maybe too seriously, and then it kind of eats out that genre thing, and then it eats itself out. And I think what it's done quite successfully is it has kind of stretched little boundaries.
Humanizes the supernatural in a sense.
Right. I think the show is sustainable because it's grounded in real life relationships, and it's dealing with problems that people, with sexuality and, parenting problems and relationships with your friends and, depression and all of these things that people, teenagers and young adults just don't have a place to talk about. And so when they can see it on TV, and then, I think that's why it's successful, and it'll be able to continue because it's real. And I love that Jeff keeps that in place.
I'm also astounded at the fans, at how amazingly dedicated they are to the show, which is it's so inspiring on many levels and exciting, and they're having their own dialogue about stuff, and then they're creating their own storylines about stuff, which doesn't relate to the show, but it gives them a creative output, which is great too.